Greetings, TTRPG fans and enthusiasts. I'm your host and narrator, John, and welcome to Legitcast episode 20. Today, we have a very special guest, Blaze Reason, the creator of the TTRPG Ishanekon World Shapers. Hello, Blaze.
Hi, John. I'm happy to be here. So looking forward. Talking about your own tabletop RPG for 2 hours. What's better than that, right? Or I guess almost 2 hours.
Exactly. So you name your own creation, probably the world's biggest free TTRPG. Let's talk a little bit about that. But let's also start with the basics of what Ishanekon is, how you can play it, the system. Let's go. I'm gonna make sure that you're heard a little bit more. Increase your sound. Thank you, Antonio. Yeah. Increasing it right
Thank
now.
you, Antonio.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, so I'm just gonna talk about, like it said, it's a tabletop RPG, classic D20 system, and with over 2,500 character options. And all of it is free. That's probably biggest. And you could argue that Pathfinder Second Edition is bigger, and we also, but it's a lot of options. Definitely more than most, especially. And what it is about, it is setting independent. Can pretty much play in setting. It's when it comes to crunchiness, it aims to be having a nice balance. So and what I like to call optional, if all the features have tags show how complex there are, can build very don't want really difficult parts. But you can also go full power gamer tinkering and take the high complexity stuff. So I try to satisfy both the role player and the power gamer, or those people that like to do both, like myself. And
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options. Before we go to the character options, let's talk about the inspirations behind the Ishanekon. Which were your main inspiration? How did you come up to the idea, and how did you decided to go ahead and see it through?
There have been a lot of inspiration, a lot of different parts. You don't get 2,500 drops by not looking around, right? But at the very core, originally it was supposed to be for one setting. A setting I invented to create Christian shooter game that is actually Christian suck. There are plenty of that are pretty bad, and I thought, like, what would a world look like where we could create shooter? But it started to evolve beyond that, and it's after a while and very much left those original roots. But more specifically, what fired? So of course I borrowed mechanics, D&D edition, Pathfinder Second Edition, Call of Cthulhu, Open Legends, be a hero, and here and there looking at the tabletop RPGs, borrowing a few cool sounding features. Then but also a lot of from video games, because yes, the original tabletop RPG for a world, it was inspired by a video game, different classes. Those classes were by shooter game, Mass Effect, Team Fortress. That's, for example, why there's a demolition archetype classes. That's just the DNA of going way back then, when it was basically the demo map too, which is one of the let's say, less traditional archetypes that you find. Yeah, I once started to create a list of everything that inspired me, and there it was done. I just look at fiction and games in general, and what can I fit in world shapers without blowing the rules, with just allowing the player to truly build whatever they want, because that is one of you. If you can imagine it, you should be able to build an Ishanekon world shaper while still being mechanic rather.
Yeah. We did have some technical issues. I think we're better now, hopefully. Let's continue and see how it goes. I hope there is not any much issue from now on. So as you can see on the slideshow screen over there, there are many amazing options, character options, from demolitions, from psychics, from warriors to cunning characters to spies. Basically, if you can think of it, as you said, it should be part of the game. Yes, indeed. The Blaze sound is cutting in and out. Maybe Blaze, you can do the thing that we discussed about it before with because yes, I can hear you, can understand what you say, but some parts are cutting out, unfortunately.
Maybe I can the headset mic. Try to fix stuff.
If you want, we can have like a short break and fix it off screen, and then if it takes time, and then
I don't think we need a short break. I can do this in a few seconds. Just
all right. Doing everything we can to keep the chat entertained.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Let's hope it doesn't cut out now.
No, I think now it's perfect. Much better. Yeah. Thank you for the chat. Thank you, everyone. So let's get back into the player options. If you can think of it, you can create it. You have engineers, have spies, have kaboom characters. So you mentioned something like 1,000 options. Is that right?
Yes. Maybe it makes sense to actually split up those options to see what it actually is. You don't have to look through all these thousands of options to find what you're looking for. It's basically the core of your class, which is more like a thematic direction, are the 10 archetypes, which in most tabletop RPGs would be classes, but I purposefully did not call them classes because a class is usually narrative more restricted. For example, if you think of a wizard class, right, you immediately have the image of specific like casting magic, frail a man, and so on. But this is supposed to be system independent. So the archetype is more of a general word. For example, the mental archetype, which is all about mind over matter, which could be a classic wizard, but it could also be a psionic. It could be a mad scientist. And so on, right? Same, I don't have a fighter, I have the war archetype. I don't have rogues, I have the cunning archetype. It's the word purposefully does not bind you to a specific flavor core. And then we have the sub archetypes, which push you more into a specific direction, which you can get to choose directly at level 1 at the start of the game. And every archetype has at least 21. I used to have the rule that every archetype had to have the exact same number of sub-archetypes. Now I changed it slightly so that an archetype is not allowed to have more than 2 sub-archetypes than the one with the least archetypes. So that I'm not forced to always publish 10 at a time. And they're more common, by the way. And
wow.
Yes. While the archetype gives you like base access on how much health do you have, how much willpower, which is kind of like mana, but all can be used for sword techniques, technology, or whatever. It shows you with what kind of weapons you are proficient, what kind of abilities you can learn, and so on. The sub-archetypes pushes you mechanically more into a direction. And then we have the For example, let's take the war archetype
Mm-hmm.
and then the rusher sub-archetype. The rusher sub-archetype is all about running into the battle full speed, recklessly, dealing damage while not going down. But then you have, for example, the trooper sub-archetype, which is all about staying in cover, shooting from there. Your classic third-person cover shooter mechanics, right? You're rewarded for precision if you stay in cover, and so on. And that gives you more of a flavor basis. But even then, the game encourages you to switch up the flavor. Like, just because he's called a trooper doesn't mean you need an assault rifle. You can be a trooper with a bow or throwing knives and so on, right? And yeah, the sub archetypes currently are 213.
Oh.
Then you have the abilities, which is by far the most options. There are over 1,000 of them, which are your spells, your swords techniques, your tech, your gadgets, whatever. They are active capabilities you perform, like throwing a fireball, causing your enemy to bleed with your sword attack, and so on.
Something that pops my mind.
Hmm?
If can you continue? If you want, you can continue.
No,
There's a question concerning.
Feel free to ask a question or.
All right, let's throw a question there. So, it's a question about balancing more than anything else. How do you balance, let's say, a shooter that's using like a cowboy Smith & Wesson revolver with a futuristic, a plasma rifle, a plasma pistol? So they're both like a shooter, they're both like a marksman or something, but one is using Wild West technology, the other is using futuristic. How can they be equal in power terms?
One of the main design goals of Ishanekon World Shapers is fun over realism, and every build is supposed to be viable. So yes, a plasma rifle would deal a lot more damage than a Western pistol, but in my system they still deal the same amount of damage, more or less. It's all weapons are equally viable with different strengths and weaknesses, but yes, I didn't want to have you get the feeling of, ooh, I'm a rogue, the classic knife-wielding dagger guy, but a sword is more effective, which is realistic, but now you cannot really play the cool knife wielder rogue fantasy unless you're willing to sacrifice power, which never feels good. So a one-handed sword and a dagger both do 1d8 base damage. It's and there are other aspects that allow those weapons to differentiate from each other. For example, every weapon requires 2 stats to wield. A sword is a dexterity strength weapon. A dagger is a dexterity intelligence weapon, right? Know the weak points of the enemy, strike them, and so on. And just those stats already infuse all these different weapons with different identities. And if you want to push it further, because I didn't want to overcomplicate weapons, because again, optional complexity, right? And if every weapon works in a completely different way, they can be very overwhelming for beginners. So every single weapon has a greater talent, which allows you to specialize in that weapon and gives you different perks. Example, the sword, if you miss with an attack, once per turn you can make an additional attack with the sword, right? You got parried, the weapon is quick in the middle, and you make a second strike. Or you go with the dagger, which deals a lot more crit damage, right? In the sense, like, the dagger is very good at just finding those smaller weak points and really exploiting them. And there are over 100 weapons, and each of them has a great talent. Okay, to be fair, there's some weapons types that like share one. For example, one-handed swords and two-handed swords have both the same great talent. But basically every version, and usually the ones that share one is like the one-handed version and the two-handed version of a weapon.
I love that's a great answer. I love what you said, that fun comes first over realism. So basically, like a samurai from like Age of Japan with the katana is as lethal and as powerful as a Jedi with a lightsaber. Let's say they're both like the sword archetype or something, like a warrior with a sword, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So
And
you
so
can,
what
you can
if
play
the
anything you
samurai
want,
can? Yeah.
and you don't feel like, oh man, my build is weak. You know, I should have gone with a lightsaber.
I mean, look at fiction, right? Hawkeye is fighting with a bow in a modern setting. That's not realistic, but it is fun. Let the players have fun without sacrificing their effectiveness. And yes, Hawkeye is far more effective than most fighters that shoot with guns in Marvel, right? Same with Green Arrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, get out realism.
No, I love it. It's a great way to have a fun game without trying to create the physics for every little detail. And it's a great and fun approach. So we have like 10 archetypes, 20 sub archetypes, 1,000 different abilities, hundreds of weapons. It's a crazy game. It's a huge game. That's one of the most content I've ever heard. Now, my question is, why have you chosen for Ishanekon World Shapers to be 100% free? And are there any plans for any sort of monetization in the future?
The reason why I wanted to be free was like most people that started roughly around the time that I started. My first game was D&D 5th edition. And I bought it, and after a year I realized that it was a very unbalanced game, that it had a lot of issues, and I just realized that I was being kind of ripped off. Especially if you compare it to other tabletop RPG products out there, it's very expensive. And you know, I wanted to push back against that. In many ways, I designed Ishanekon World Shapers to be an anti-Wizards of the Coast game. You know, you require $200 basically for the entire set of books. You get everything for free in my system. Gaming, open gaming license scandal. Well, mine is Commons Creative license, so you just have to credit me and you can use pretty much everything on the website. Zero restrictions. And yeah, I also wanted to lower the barrier of entry to this hobby. Like, I think tabletop RPGs, it's such a great hobby. More people should be doing it. But for many people, money is an issue. And yes, there are other free tabletop RPGs out there. But it's more like either you get a restricted version of it, or it's like very rules light. And I wanted something that can keep up with the big boys in the industry, but it would still be free for everyone. And there is like the plan is that the entire game will stay free. Every upcoming features, adventures, new creatures, and so on, all of it will be 100% free. There is a way, if you choose to, if you want to support me financially. I have a Ko-fi account where you can get some perks for a monthly membership, and I do sell some merch. But the game doesn't require this to survive. Of course, the more money you get, the more I can pay artists, the more I can pay others to promote the game, the more so more people can enjoy it. And but it is not necessary. If plus, let's be honest, I'm currently not making a lot of money with it. I've got like 3 supporters. It's like €7 per month, which I'm very thankful for those 3 supporters. But if they should stop paying, the game will not vanish, right? I can cover all ongoing costs by myself, and if that is necessary, I will do so. I'm very vehement with that. It's going to stay free no matter what, as long as I am alive.
Wow, that's very honorable and noble. And definitely, if you're considering go support through through Blaze's coffee, as you said, and merchandise. Is the hat that you're wearing included in the merchandise?
Yes. There are currently
Definitely
3
got to buy it.
merchandise. The hat, which I basically wear every day. When I go out, I'm wearing it. It's a great hat. It's high quality.
It's a great hat, yeah. It looks like.
and there's also an official T-shirt with the logo, and a cup. You know, if you want to drink coffee. I had a colleague who was like, "I would buy something, but I don't like the T-shirts and the cap." And do you want to offer a coffee mug? And I was like, "Okay."
I will make one for you.
He bought the coffee mug.
But you mentioned that if more people support you, would be able to buy more art and enrich the game. Let's talk about the artworks of the game, of all the archetypes and sub archetypes. I bet the artists had a lot of fun creating such an immense variety of different, as we see here, from like orcs to mechs to cowboys to aliens. You want to give the shout out to the artists and tell me how you approach such a wide spectrum of artworks?
Her name is Moonlight Kingdom. She's a Bulgarian artist. We met back when I myself was a hobby artist in my DeviantArt days. I wasn't ever like professional level or anything, but we met on DeviantArt. A friendship grew out of it. I eventually stopped drawing images, and my interest turned towards the tabletop RPG hobby. And she never really had anyone pay her for art, but I thought like, hey, want to help me out with the project? And she's been pretty much working like for 3 years now, regularly delivering images, and she has improved a lot. We are actually currently reworking the old art that she drew, since she has improved greatly. And of course, she's getting paid for redrawing the images. I believe we need to pay artists fairly, and all the art on the website is human-made. It's also important.
Yeah, especially nowadays. Shout out to the artists then. Let's talk about a bit about the playtesting. And since I had the honor of being like 1 year ago, I think it was, where we played in an arena. I think I played somewhere like a psychic with psychic bolts. I think it was something like that. It was something like psychic bolts, I think.
Were you maybe a barium master? Or
maybe barriers?
We're definitely a psychic.
Yeah,
we're definitely a psychic. I remember, but I think your sub archetype was the barium master.
But
which
maybe it also had like something like a projectile, maybe, or did I throw a projectile at some point? Maybe I'm confused. But in any case,
like psychic projectile probably. Basic choice for a psionic, right?
That must
if
have been
dealing
it.
Psychic damage.
Yeah, that must have been it. So playtesting must be really fun for you, learning to see. Always, it's fun for the creator to see their, the creation come to life, but also with players, because they have so many options to choose, and basically instead of getting lost, you just say, what do you feel like playing in this part of the game? So just imagine something that you saw on a movie or read in a comic or whatever, and we can turn it to the character. How much has the game evolved in the game mechanics and stuff since its conception? Like how much the play testing process has improved and evolved the game?
I've been working on the game for over 6 years now. So of course that's a long while. And there have been like tweaking the core here and there, but I think after the first 2 years of development, the core was pretty much solid. It's more about expanding the options that they are there, and fixing exploits and buffing features that are too weak. And oh boy, do I have I've got a couple of power gamers in my Discord channel which just love to absolutely tear the game apart. And like just 2 days ago, the guy showed up on a one shot with a character which got plus 50 to all skill checks because of an exploit. For context, a normal good skill check bonus for a character at level 1 is plus 4. So he would basically have unless you roll the natural one, guaranteed to achieve even the most impossible skill check. So yeah, that's getting nerfed with the next patch.
Let's talk a bit more about Powergaming though, because I find it always fascinating, even though I am more of a role player myself. As a game designer, I always found fascinating the idea of Powergaming, as you said, of someone who sees the rules, sees their options, and break down your game. Give me some of. Actually, I would like to hear more how that person reached plus 50. Were they psychic? Were they wizard? Something like that, I guess. But generally, tell me more of what sort of builds do power gamers in your game follow.
Oh, there are actually a big variety. For example, the exploit for the skill check. It was a very old upgrade. Every crafting skill in my game, like you can upgrade and craft items, and and every crafting skill has an upgrade for equipment that gives you a perk if you craft this specific item. And if you craft stuff with your computer skill, you get a +1 to all skill checks for the entire day if you craft something. And I made the mistake of making that bonus stackable, which definitely not going to be stackable anymore with the next patch. It's and he combined it with the Anarchist, which is a character that is about just crafting a lot of extremely cheap consumable items, which allowed him to basically one-shot craft like 10 skills with the computer crafting skills, and he had to upgrade 5 times, and therefore +50 for the entire day on all skills.
Although it must be nerfed and banned next patch. I really find it fascinating how people do those sorts of things. You know, how they find some crazy thing that nobody noticed that this is stackable, so if I combine with the anarchist, I find it very fascinating and true. Give me some other like cool, which are official and they're not supposed to be nerfed anytime soon, power gaming builds.
So basically builds that have that are just weak enough to not get nerfed. Yeah, probably pilots and vehicle builders are very powerful. They need a while to get going because you need to gather the resources to build your vehicle. But I had a character at the end of a campaign basically building flying battleships with which they were just as strong as the entire party, and with weapon platforms which the other party members could use. That is a build. Its main weakness is that in a short campaign or one shot, you usually don't have enough time to really build out your vehicle. But in general, with crafters get way stronger the longer the campaign goes on.
I think that's fair, and it makes sense. But I guess that the super pilot with the super mech army, if they're found against a ninja 1v1, they don't really stand a chance, right? Without their...
Depends on your ninja build and against how exactly you build it, right? Specifically, if you take the ninja sub-archetype. The ninja sub-archetype is very good at moving through darkness unseen. And I mean, if they see that the mech is too powerful, they can just disengage, disappear into the shadows, and then the power of the mech doesn't matter, right? And then you wait until it's night, the pilot is sleeping. Because that's the weak point of every single mech build, right? The pilot. If you somehow get around the vehicle and manage to attack the pilot directly, he's going to be very weak. Plus, there's always the universal counter, cinematic actions. Like that's probably my favorite mechanic and of the entire game. It's basically you have a resource called narrative momentum, which you can use to perform actions that lie outside of what your character sheet would normally. Just cool action scene type stuff, or cleverly exploiting a narrative weakness of an enemy. For example, in one game, the characters were fighting a golem which had a lot of armor because it's made out of stone, and nobody in the party had anti-armor abilities and so on, so they were barely dealing in damage. And one of them, as you know, golems in the huge narrative have like a piece of paper in the mouth that controls them, gives them life. So this half troll used the cinematic action to shatter the lower jaw of the golem, so the piece of paper fell out, which instantly stopped the fight. And of course, not every cinematic action is supposed to instantly stop the fight, but they're usually very powerful options, and also great if you find yourself in a situation where your character just doesn't have anything to handle it. And quite frankly, it's just awesome. Like, I just love the narrative potential. Like, you mentioned power gamers, you mentioned role players. I love both aspects. I love to mechanically build characters in Ishanekon World Shepherds, combining interesting talents with sub-archetypes and abilities, but also the narrative potential. To say, when it comes down, even the most mechanized mechanical character can use a cinematic action to make a stand, to do something really cool. And yes, cinematic actions and reactions, the great equalizer.
What's the limit behind cinematic actions? Is it like a resource that you can do once per session, or is it something that is based on, something that you collect in game via good rolls or something? How does it work?
Cinematic actions are powered by narrative momentum. Narrative momentum, of course, is limited. You can also use it to re-roll dice. You own your party's dice or even the enemy dice. So, it is determined by your charisma stat and your luck stat. Each of the stats has an additional bonus, so that it's actually there's no stat that is completely useless, no matter what kind of character you have. So, and for charisma, it's narrative momentum. So, let's say a normal character, the average has 10 narrative momentum maximum, and a cinematic action costs 3 narrative momentum. If you want to do something while you cannot act, like for example you're restrained, then you can use a cinematic burst, which costs 6 narrative momentum. So you already see a normal character can use 1 narrative burst, and that's it for the day. You regain half of your narrative momentum if your character takes a full rest, which means it's the slowest recovering resource of all of them. Especially in longer games, you cannot afford to spam it unless you build your character around narrative momentum. And there are ways to regain narrative momentum. Specifically, role-playing in a way that purposely puts your character in a bad spot can generate narrative momentum. Determined by a GM, the website has some examples. For example, if you purposefully skip your turn. But the important part is you need to role-play for that. You cannot just be like, I'm just standing here. Tell me why you're just standing there. Is your character petrified with fear? Are they just a bit dumb and they're like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to eat today? Right? Or maybe you describes how the goblins just kind of overwhelm you and you can't move and basically restrain yourself on purpose for a round. So so there are other ways to regain narrative momentum, but usually they come with disadvantage. And so in one-shots, to be fair, they tend to be rather abundant. And if you really don't want that as a GM, I suggest to just let them start with half of their maximum narrative momentum, which makes sense. After a full rest, you have half of it, right? In longer campaigns, you notice that since they only get half of the maximum, that means the average character character can make like 1.5 narrative, cinematic actions per day. Okay, I guess more like, but again, unless you build a character around, there are multiple sub-archetypes that are built around cinematic actions, and there are features that can help you to gain more narrative momentum and so on. Some of them are very flavorful. I like one of the funniest one is the lesser talent action hero, which gives you 12 narrative momentum, but the cinematic actions of the enemies cost 1 narrative momentum less. So basically,
yeah,
you just increased all the cinematic actions across the board, which is a
I wanted to
can
talk
get
to you
very
about
chaotic.
favorites. I know as a game designer you can't have favorites, much like having multiple children, biological children. You can't pick one over the other. I think same goes with game design, but still we are all just mere humans, and you must have your own favorites out of the 1,000 basically options out there. So can you give us a few of your very own personal favorites?
My favorite sub-archetype is the leader sub-archetype, because I just love the inspiring knight. The guy or woman that just fights in the front and side by side with his allies, and just his mere presence motivates everyone around them to give it their all. And the leader allows you to do that, especially if you make a charisma leader. Depending on which mental stat you take, there's tactical for intelligence, quick thinking for instinct, and inspiring for charisma. And there are also other cool options. For example, I really like the hero sub-archetype, who gets stronger the worse the situation gets. You are outnumbered, the enemy has a higher level than you get more powerful, and it's very powerful boss. And they also get some free cinematic reactions when they see the vitality of an ally drop below half. So it's a very thematic sub-archetype. My probably favorite ability is the high impact blow, which is basically deals a lot of physical damage and allows you to move a target 15 meters. So basically, it's the classic anime punch where you hit somebody so hard that they fly across the room and just hit the wall. It's a bit basic, but I just, sometimes the basic stuff is just awesome.
Are there any races options, like playing an orc or playing like an alien or something like that?
The base idea of the game is that you build your own character, which includes any racial traits or however you want to call them. Right? If you're playing a dwarf, then maybe take the durable lesser talent. Or if you're playing a night elf, maybe take night vision. But there is an optional rule for ancestry with a few examples, including dwarves, orcs, like the classic fantasy options. Also a few for other settings, modern stuff, and so on. But that's very much an alternative rule. The last chapter of the core rules has a variety of alternative rules. Probably the most important ones are the ones that change the leveling scaling, because like the baseline game is built around you are powerful heroes. Definitely not immortal, like you're weaker than, for example, the 5th edition, but you're very much supposed to be powerful. Then there's the Mortal Heroes version, where your health kind of doesn't scale at all, and so you stay squishy and your damage doesn't increase. You still get like a tiny bit stronger, but this is very good if you want something a bit more grounded, or or for horror games, right, where your protagonists are supposed to stay weak. And there are a couple other options. Maybe I'm diverging too much from the original question.
No, I think we've heard a lot about your favorites, and I like how you can include the races if you want, but basically it's about how you choose to play your game. So one story can have like if they want to play like half of them are humans, other are aliens, the other is a dwarf, you can find ways to fun over rule set. Fun over realism is the mantra of your game, and I love it. So about concerning the future of Ishanekon, but first of your own career as a game designer, do you see yourself working on other titles, something a different TRPG or a different game altogether, or you want to focus purely on Ishanekon World Shapers and see it reach its full potential?
So, the basic plan is to work on Ishanekon World Shapers till I'm dead.
I hear you. Yeah.
It's probably not going to be that extreme unless I die sooner than I'm expecting.
No.
But yeah, there is no like end goal. It's really like I want to improve the game, and the way I publish the game also helps with that. Like most tabletop RPGs have a book also, right? So kind of once you publish the book, it's more or less over. You can have expansions and so on, but you usually have the problem, maybe I made a mistake here with this mechanic, or this feature is too powerful, this is not powerful enough. Yeah, I'm circumventing that problem by treating it like a video game. They are monthly patches which bring new features, like I said, and buff stuff, so I can develop a bit more recklessly. I can add more features, fix the stuff later, and continuously keep improving the game, and without it being like detrimental, because you created your own game, right? I'm pretty sure you know the spiral of is my game good enough, is it perfect enough, I want to continue working, and then you start to work so long that it's you basically lose your window of actually publishing it and so on. But I don't have that problem with Ishanekon World Shaper, so it's built so that I can keep feeding that cycle for all eternity.
So are there not any plans of an actual printed huge core book? Must be like 400 pages or something. But are there any plans for a printed version at some point?
I mean, I'm not saying 100% no to that. Maybe if Ishanekon World Shapers becomes famous enough and there's a lot of interest in a printed version of it, then I might consider doing a Kickstarter or something to make a printed version. But at the core, it is supposed to stay digital, because this is where it has its most strength and how I can truly offer it for free, right? I mean, I cannot give everyone who wants a free book, right?
That would be way too expensive. No way.
But the website that costs like €3 per month, that's barely anything. I mean,
yeah.
And I can keep that going basically wherever, and it can scale infinitely. I also built the website infrastructure in a sense so it can easily scale infinitely. For example, the online character sheet, it saves the data on your local browser. So I don't have to manage a server with potentially 1,000, if not million, of character sheets if it's Ishanekon just explodes. Because I'm offloading that thing onto the user, and it therefore can scale infinitely.
I like how you have foreseen this in advance. So what is next? What's the next step for Ishanekon? You say you have like monthly patches, but is there something like besides that coming, like a big expansion that changes or includes a new mechanic or a new rule, or even 10 more archetypes, 20, 100, no?
More archetypes, probably not, but there are currently roughly 40 planned sub-archetypes. We have an idea, but you need to develop the mechanics, write it in a nice way, and let the people look at it. So, for the bigger part, probably there are adventure modules planned. Currently, there's one on the website, a one-shot for beginners, but I want to add more options. There's one that is almost done. Well, I've been very busy this month, so I couldn't finish it. Maybe next month, but I don't want to make any promises. But potentially next month it could be there. You know, I want to offer also sci-fi one-shot options or a more detective-style one-shot option. Yeah, and later on also a campaign. We've been actually play testing this campaign. It's you basically you find a treasure map to the lost islands of WotC, where there is supposed to be a treasure of sorts, the Spark of WotC. Nobody really knows what it is. Something it's a powerful magical artifact. Other things it's a gem the size of an entire room. Yeah, your players find the map. They manage to hire a crew ship crew to get them to the islands, and now explore the 5 islands, find out where the treasure is. It's a pretty fun adventure with a few twists and turns there. It's not just the classic pirate adventure, tropical islands here and there and natives. No, it's as soon as you set foot on the first islands, you will see there's something weird. There's something very weird going on here. But I don't want to spoil too much, right?
I wonder how.
Yeah.
No, continue, please.
And also, there are settings planned. There are like 2 settings on the website currently, but let's be honest, they're not very detailed. They can use a lot more meat on their bones. And there are 2 more settings planned also. But yeah, I have so much stuff planned, but I mostly just one guy, right? I can only do so much. I also need to do more creatures, for example. There are currently like 170 creatures on the official website. I need to make more vehicles for the website. Yeah, improve the tools options that they are there, add new tools, maybe new guides. There's so much I want to do. But
I understand. Are there these like modules, these like settings and pre-made stories gonna take into account the large variety of options that a GM might have? So let's say it's another GM that's not you, that has like a samurai and ninja cop, like a space detective, I don't know, something, a weird combination. But they're supposed to go into this island-based sort of treasure hunting adventure. How the game is gonna take into account the crazy combinations that can come from the player group?
it is very much up to the GM to tell the players what kind of setting it will be and apply reasonable restrictions. It does very much say in the rules that it says session zeros are very important for this kind of game, so that you can set limits, right? You're saying this is a sci-fi setting with no supernatural things, and it is then also like usually a player will be then smart enough to not show up with a holy priest wielding light to smite their enemies, right?
Yeah.
But I purposefully remove restrictions that might protect people from toxic players or GMs, because I mean, to be fair, there's only so much you can do to protect people from toxic gameplay and so on. And at some point, you just have to trust your players and GMs to be grown-ups and handle it themselves. And so I give them this freedom, right? So that they can just take what makes sense for the setting, reflavor stuff, and so on, right?
Yeah.
But there's actually one setting that I publish that allows you to mix and match anything and it still makes sense. It's the headcanon multiverse, and basically it's just a multiverse with all fictional worlds that the GM knows. Like it specifically said, like, this is your headcanon, like this. And they are 4 multiversal factions. And for those, it makes total sense that they are mixed and matched from all sorts of genre. I've actually run a game in one of those settings. It was live stream and it was a lot of fun. We had a cowboy medic with a anime sword fighter and a robot pirate. And what was the first? Oh yeah, a psionic alien.
Oh, that
But
must be so much fun.
And also a nice thing about the setting, it explains lore-wise why the alien with the laser gun isn't not just far more powerful than the Wild Western Doctor with his
Oh yeah, the thing that we
old
talked
rifle.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, in that setting specifically, like the setting itself knows like written in the lore that it is fictional and it has elements that are fictional, and there is something called a narrative balance. If someone leaves their universe and joins another universe, the power level adjusts to that new universe depending on how powerful they were in their original universe, right? Like
that's
take Son
amazing,
Goku,
actually.
put him in our
Yeah,
world,
I was
and
thinking
he'd
like
be
a
basically a very
Kryptonian
good
or
yeah.
or something like that. Viltrumite, Kryptonian, Saiyan, something that's inherently imbalanced. It neutralizes if you change the universe. Yeah, I really like the
Exactly.
idea.
So that setting truly allows you to go absolutely wild with all the options. Yeah, and I'm actually running one campaign also that one. In that one we also have a cartoon stick figure as one of the player characters, who just transforms his fists in all sort of weird contraptions like drill fist, fire fist. Yeah.
That is me. Our friends from chat are here and they love their games. So final
yeah,
message
Antonio, yeah.
to wrap things up. Final message to all your fans and your and the Ishanekon World Shapers fans out there.
Like my final message now.
Yeah. What's your final message to wrap things up to all your fans that love your games?
Question. I was not perfect. Everyone is welcome. I'm very much. This is a game that's supposed to be enjoyable by anyone. You're invited to join, and I hope that that I could tear down any barrier that might stop you from just joining this wonderful hobby, tabletop RPG in general.
That has been a wonderful message. Thank you so much for joining us, Blaze. Thank you everyone on chat for participating. I'm gonna raid a friend who's playing TTRPGs right now. It's gonna be in Greek, but still you might enjoy and listen something you haven't heard before. Thank you so much for everyone for watching, and as always, stay legit and stay meta.